let's get into the giant mailbag.
What crazy thing did City do this week?
It's time for Mattress Running the Numbers. Ready for the main event?
The main event.
Frequent Miler on the air starts now. Today's main event, Greg and Nick's favorite 2024 awards. We've looked back at the flights and hotels and other things we've booked this past year using points, miles, and other. And we've made a list of candidates of what were our favorites, and then we'll pick, our overall winning flight, hotel, and other in today's main event.
And if you want to know, what do you mean other? Flight, hotel, and other? Well, you'll find out if you listen to the rest of the show. So anyway, don't forget, by the way, if you want to jump ahead or you want to come back to something later on, the timestamps are always in the show notes. So expand the description in order to see timestamps and go directly to different segments of the show. Also to find links to more about the stuff that we're talking about. So when we have a post written about these topics, you'll find a link in those show notes. So be sure to check that out. Let's drag out this week's giant mailbag.
All right. Today's giant mail begins with a whoops from me. In a previous episode, I talked about how Bilt now you can earn points when you're buying a house. You earn like 1 point for every $2 of the house you purchase. And in that discussion, I incorrectly asserted that this was based on using a particular provider to get your mortgage. That's not right. It's using that particular provider as your buying agent. It's the agent who gets a fee for helping you buy a house that is passing on some of that fee to you in the form of points. Basically, is what's happening there. So I don't know. That's good news in that you're free to hunt for the best mortgage deal you want. It's bad news if you like a particular agent and this isn't them.
So, well, and or depending on what the fee ends up being, right? Because essentially you're buying those points by paying the agent something and getting points in return. Now if the fee is the same as what you would pay another agent, then great. Then it seems like a benefit. But if you pay an extra, $2,000 for however many points or whatever, you got to just consider that and see, is that worth it?
Right.
It might be. But
it might be, yeah. I mean, Bilt points are very valuable. So yeah, I would still consider it, but you should do that math yourself and see, is it worth it?
Yep, very good.
All right, one more.
Another one. Yeah,
another giant mail, and this also looks back at a previous episode where in a previous mailbag we talked about an email from Linda who had booked a hotel using choice privilege points. She had booked a preferred hotel and had decided to cancel that stay, but nobody from the hotel to choice had any knowledge of her reservation despite her having a confirmation email and everything. She had talked to a supervisor at my recommendation and it had sounded positive. But when we last talked about it, we didn't know the final outcome. And so Linda wrote with the final outcome. She says, I'm happy to report that Choice Privileges did return the 96,000 points to my account once they investigated my missing reservation with preferred hotels. Your recommendation that I speak with a Choice Privileges supervisor was key to my success. Once the supervisor created a case number, even though she dropped the ball and failed to report back to me as promised, another supervisor was able to follow through with the back office and get my points back. All told, it took a half dozen phone calls over a 3-week period. In the future, confirming with a hotel directly after booking a preferred hotel through Choice will be essential for my peace of mind. Yeah, everybody should do that. Absolutely, 100%. Whether booking with Choice points or with preferred hotels own points, you do need to confirm with the hotel because preferred hotels, their system for this stuff is just very, very problematic.
Yeah. It makes me wonder about the process on the back end here. And the reason it does is because I wrote a while back about this ranch in Montana that you could book with Hilton points. It's an SLH property. And the short version of the story is I don't have a resolution to this yet, but at the time, after I wrote about it, a number of people had found that after they booked and contacted the hotel, or some of them got contacted by the hotel, there'd be an additional fee of like $500 per child if you were bringing kids with you that wasn't disclosed anywhere in the booking process. And what I found interesting is eventually I had my wife proactively call. She didn't receive a call from anybody advising her about that, even though we had put in two adults and two kids. She called the hotel, and the person at the hotel claim that they don't receive the information for reservations until a certain amount of time before the stay. Like they told her 30 days before the stay, which doesn't seem possible to me that they don't get the information from Hilton until 30 days before the stay. But maybe what happens is they get record of a reservation and it takes a room out of inventory, but maybe they don't get the name of the person and all of their contact information until a certain amount of time, whether it's really 30 days. I find that hard to believe. But at any rate, there's some transfer of information that has to happen in a partnership like that from Hilton to this external partner, and probably similar if you were using choice points to book a preferred hotel. That transfer of information has to happen, and so there's a potential for a problem there if something goes wrong in that communication. And I don't know if it's instant or not. I mean, in the digital world, you always expect everything to be instant these days, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not that simple.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm going to give an update to. I talked, I think, in the last show about how I had made a reservation recently with Choice Points, and how initially there was a problem because the hotel contacted me to use my credit card as a to make a deposit. I don't know. Did I talk about this on the show or not? I can't remember. Maybe not. Maybe not. So anyway, so what happened is I called them and gave them my credit card information because I thought it was one of those just a deposit to hold the room type of thing. But they ended up charging me the full cash rate of the whole hotel as if I hadn't paid with Choice Points. And so I called them back and said, wait, this is not right. I paid with Choice Points. And so the woman talked to her manager and then reversed the charge completely. And so I thought I was done, but
I thought you were done too.
Yeah.
My mistake.
It wasn't done because she called me like a few days later and said that she asked if I could share the confirmation email information that I got from Choice, because what they got on their end was a virtual credit card number from Choice to pay for the room, basically.
Right.
And they were trying to charge it initially to that. They were trying to charge an entire room charge to that credit card. It failed, and that's when they contacted me to get my credit card. And so now they're like, it's still failing. And so she said maybe if she had that email, the confirmation email, there'd be information there about how to contact Choice, because they couldn't find anyone at Choice or Preferred Hotels that could help them figure this out.
Wow.
And I mean, I forwarded the email confirmation. There's nothing in there that is going to help them.
Right.
So now I'm kind of like in a bit of limbo. Like it sounded to me in talking to them that this particular hotel is kind of owning the problem, trying to get it fixed as but I can imagine other hotels just saying, forget it. I'm just going to cancel this reservation, because that's a lot of work on their part to try to track down someone at Preferred Hotels or Choice that, first of all, knows anything about this partnership, and second, would know anything about this virtual credit card and why it's not working. I mean, there's probably one person in the whole world that has that answer. And
well, my guess about why it's not working, and this is total speculation, but I'm going to guess that Choice creates, based on your description, Choice creates a virtual card to pay the amount that's been negotiated with Preferred Hotels for whatever like that hotel costs. Because obviously they're not paying the rack rate, right? They're paying whatever they've worked out with Choice or with Preferred Hotels. So it's probably set to charge that amount. But the hotel is probably trying to charge the actual rack rate for whatever reason, not knowing. I mean, for whatever reason, it's pretty believable that the individual people at a single hotel don't know what Preferred's relationship is with Choice and what that agreement is. So they're probably just trying to charge the whole amount. And of course, it's failing because they're trying to charge too much to it, is my guess. And then that's just speculation, but I could see that being the case anyway. And then, yeah, getting a hold of somebody who knows and understands how all that works. You would think preferred hotels would have somebody in a corporate office that would be able to answer that question for them. But good that the
I
hotel
hope so.
is
I hope so.
taking
I
it
know.
on
I
themselves there.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, this stay is supposed to be in January, so
Oh, wow.
hopefully,
Good
hopefully
luck.
we'll actually stay there.
Good luck.
But
All
yeah, thank
right.
you.
Well, so still, you still haven't sold me on preferred hotels, Greg. I'm just going to say that you still haven't sold me on the preferred hotels. I'll look
I
forward to
totally get that.
hearing what it's like, though, especially since I don't have to actually be the one who goes. So, all right. Speaking of looking forward to things, one thing that we've been looking forward to is a Million Mile Madness update, and you, in particular, have a great one for us.
I do. I've been sitting here with 14 confirmed airlines in my SAS login. I log in. I could see that I earned points from 14 of the 15 required airlines in order to earn 1 million points. But that one remaining one has an interesting backstory to it, which is it was China Eastern. I had put in like weeks ago, I had put in to their online form for missing credit the details for that flight. And the form said success. This worked, but then I went to my account to see how many points I actually earned, and it just wasn't there. And so I filed missing. I filed with a person a claim about it, but apparently somewhere on the back end it is there. Like I think that my
Wow.
doing that actually worked.
Wow.
I just don't see the miles, but I'm okay with that and the reason I think this is because I got an email yesterday as we're recording this saying, you're a SAS EuroBonus millionaire. So it came
Wow.
from
Nice.
Scandinavian Airlines and said I had met the requirements and that sometime in the new year they would award the miles. So that was
Fantastic.
very exciting. A big relief that like this, one thing hanging out there is not going to be an issue. So I'm at one end of the spectrum, Nick's at another.
I'm not at Greg's end of the spectrum. Let's be clear. And I got to say, I'm really pleasantly surprised they did that. I don't think we had any expectation that we would receive confirmation apart from seeing 15
Right.
airlines, right? But in your, seeing miles earned from 15 airlines, I don't think we expected that they would reach out and say, "Hey, you're getting the million miles." Awesome that they're doing that. That's really, really good. Big positive. So give them credit there. But I have not been as fortunate as Greg.
Nick has some butts.
So
Three
only,
butts.
only yes, three exactly. Yes, 12 of my airlines have credited, but three have not. So unfortunately, I have not yet gotten credit for Vietnam Airlines, which I'm pretty sure that one's all like it should be great. I booked a qualifying fare class. I have the boarding pass like right here in my hand as I speak, actually, with my EuroBonus number on it, ticket number, name, all that jazz. So I don't see how that one doesn't credit. And when I look on Flyer Talk, there's lots of people that aren't getting credit for Vietnam Airlines. And the people that are more tech savvy have dug into the code a little bit and found that there's an error coming up somewhere like behind the scenes that you can't see when you're looking at just the web page that says something like ticket database not found. And so it seems like for whatever reason, SAS just can't connect with the Vietnam Airlines system to look up the information. So hopefully that's going to get fixed. But at this point, anyway, I don't have credit for that flight. I don't have credit for Air Europa, which that one has me slightly nervous only because I booked it through Expedia. So I'd be sure which fare class I had. And then it would be a qualifying fare class because Expedia shows the fare class. And so I booked it, flew it, all the rest of that. And when I went to fill out the retroactive mileage claim, I expected that to be just like it would work. So to be clear, to back up a step, we each had a number of airlines that automatically credited and a number that didn't automatically credit, where we had to go to the website and fill in the missing points form. And for a number of those airlines, as soon as you fill out the form and hit claim, boom, it looked up the
Right.
information for the ticket and you got credit, and that was it. So I expected that with Air Europa because I was like, this is a done deal. This is really easy, right? And so I went to do it, and it said we need more information to manually investigate this claim. And it's the only airline I got that with, so I had to attach a copy of my receipt, and then I got an email saying that we'll look into it, but it takes about 5 weeks. And of course, this was like first couple of days of December, and so 5 weeks brings me into January. So I'm not going to know whether I've gotten credit for that for 5 weeks. And I would think that it's all set, except Steven booked a flight, and I think you did too, through Expedia, where it actually credited under a different fare class than what Expedia showed, right?
Yeah. In my case, though, in each, I think it happened in a couple times. But in each case, the actual booking class was on my boarding pass, and so that's what I used to
Oh,
fill out the missing, miles form. And of course, I checked first to see that it was a valid fare class, and it was in each case. So,
yeah.
did you look at your boarding pass to see whether the Air
I
Europa?
only have digital for Air Europa, and I don't think
Mm,
I'll have to double check, but I don't think it showed a
mhm.
fare class on the boarding pass. So I'll double check that though. I appreciate that tip. Yeah, and Steven's credited at a higher fare class where you earn more miles than he expected, but it just made me a little nervous that, well, if Expedia gets it wrong sometimes, then maybe they got it wrong and I got a fare class that wasn't qualifying, which would be a nightmare because then I would lose that flight, and that would be a nightmare because the last one I'm missing is Virgin Atlantic. I booked that through Delta, and it was a Delta basic economy fare, which was operated by Virgin Atlantic, and that fare class on Virgin Atlantic would be qualifying. But I'm increasingly sure that I'm not going to get miles for that because the Delta E class fare, the basic economy fare, is not eligible to earn miles. And that seems to determine whether or not you're going to earn miles for the flight. So I don't think I'm going to get credit for that. So I think I'm going to be one short. And
So
I don't know.
you haven't heard
But
from anyone else who booked it that way and was able to get credit.
no, I had heard
Mhm.
during the trip, I had heard from someone that they thought other people had done that and earned miles already, but I haven't
Mhm.
found one of those data points, and now
Yeah,
I've gotten a
yeah,
number of people who are pretty confident it's not going to work.
yeah. And the fact that we flew the same flight and I got mine a while ago is a
Yeah.
big negative for your situation. Yeah,
Right. Though the odd thing is when I go to fill out the missing miles claim, it says this flight has already been credited to another program. It doesn't say it's not eligible. It says it got credited to someone
right.
else. So that gave me some hope, except that there was
Mhm.
no way to do anything else with it. So it just tells you, no, you can't get
Yeah,
miles. And there was no way to actually like contact somebody through that. So I called and spoke to somebody this week in Denmark, a number that Greg had used and had some success with. And so I called and spoke to someone and they said the system's just down for claiming retroactive mileage credit. It's broken. There's no estimate as to when it's going to be
yeah.
back up. Just try back in some days. That's what he told me. Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of a mess. If I was running SAS or this EuroBonus program, I would I think I would look at just everybody who flew 15 airlines and like even if they weren't credited, if they had put in tickets for the missing ones, and even if we hadn't had time to investigate them yet, I would just say let's just give it to them. I mean,
Right.
because do you really want the negative press that
Right.
they're going to get if a lot of people flew 15 airlines and don't get the million miles? I mean, I don't see how that's worth it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it depends on how many million miles we're talking about here. It's kind of hard to say. I was
Yeah.
speaking to a reporter, a media reporter, the other day about a totally different topic, but this came up in the conversation. And I explained the promotion to her and what was going
Mhm.
on. And she laughed as I explained it. She said, "So what do you figure? There's like a half a dozen people doing that worldwide?" And I said, "Well, there were more than a dozen on one of our flights. So
Right.
I think it's more than that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so I'm stuck with I'm three short. So I'm going to go to Mexico this weekend to pick up Aero Mexico. I've put together an itinerary where I only have to be gone one night in order to pick up Aero Mexico on a cheap domestic Mexico flight. So I'm going to do that to pick up Aero Mexico. But then I'm like, man, what if one more doesn't credit? Like, am I going to have to go
Yeah.
to Europe to get Virgin Atlantic or Air Europa? Readers reminded me that Virgin Atlantic has some Fifth Freedom routes in the Caribbean. Those are much cheaper. So Virgin Atlantic, if Virgin Atlantic doesn't credit plus one other airline doesn't credit, then I guess I'll try and get to the Caribbean for one
Yeah.
of those at the end of the month, I guess.
I
Because I
think
don't
I
know
think
when I'm going to
I
know.
mean I think your other two. I mean, I get, Virgin Atlantic, it seems like okay, that was a mistake, so you fix it with Aeromexico. The other two though, I mean,
They should
they don't
credit.
have any argument to not credit that, right? Like
I
sure
don't
there's
think so.
technical issues,
Yeah.
so I would not do any
Just
more
let it
flying
ride.
if I were you. I
Just let it
would
ride.
just assume that you did what you need to do. You have the 15. Um, and they need to do their part. And because that's the position I think Steven's in right now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so he has 14 credited, so he's closer, but he still needs that one more and it's in the same situation of like he filed a claim. Now he's just waiting for that one person who
Who's
goes
working on these?
who goes through the claims and also has to answer questions about choice preferred relationships
Right.
probably as well.
Right. Probably. And in his case, it's a different airline. I think his is Kenya Airways, maybe, and that seems like it's been really split. Some people have gotten credit for it, and some people haven't. Greg and I both got credit for it without trouble. But I went through lots of posts on Flyer Talk. I went through like pages and pages and pages, like the whole thread about getting missing mileage credit, and a bunch of the pages on the EuroBonus Millionaire thread. There's a lot of people in both with Kenya Airways specifically and with Vietnam Airlines that are missing credit, and then quite a few with Virgin Atlantic. And that's the one thing that makes me like, oh man, is Virgin Atlantic going to credit eventually? Or are they going to do what Craig said and be like, you know what, let's just credit all these people because this is too much of a mess to deal with? I don't know. But I guess I'm going
Yeah.
to go to Mexico and and we'll have one extra if that's the case. I hope we'll see. And I'm not going to Mexico to have fun, unfortunately. It's going to be like a real quick get there late, hop on a plane to come back early, but at least I'll pick up my last one and hopefully get my million miles.
Yeah, yeah. And you're flying American Airlines to get there, right? And then you're going to
Shh,
fly
don't say that too
Aeromexico.
loud. Don't say it out loud.
I
You
just
had to
I
do
just
that.
had
You
a I
to
just
do
had a
that to
trip
me.
with I know. I just had a trip with four American Airlines legs, and two of them were fine, but two were significantly delayed, and that's better than my old percentage with American, which used to be like about 70% were significantly delayed, but 50% on this latest one.
I
Um,
actually, so as long as my flights on the way there get there within a couple of hours of when they're supposed
mhm,
to, I think I'll be okay. Like worst case, if I get delayed on the way home, it's going to be
yeah.
inconvenient for the family, but they'll figure it out.
Okay. Our fingers are crossed for you.
Yes, yes. All right, that's Million Mile Madness update. Let's talk about card news.
There's some big news out today as we're recording this. Tim logged into his American Express account and found that his business platinum card had a new perk. And that seems to be true across the board for all business platinum cards that we now have $200 Hilton credits. They're doled out $50 each quarter, exactly like the personal Hilton Surpass card. And it's the exact same situation. Like you enroll, and then you use your card at Hilton properties. It doesn't have to be resorts. This isn't like the Aspire credit. And you get up to $50 back each quarter. So a total of $200 back each year. And it's not too late. If you have a business platinum card now, it's not too late to get in on the fourth quarter 2024 and get your $50. So that's pretty cool. They're just
Yeah.
out of the blue without any fanfare. It just appeared.
Well, so I have to imagine that might have something to do with because we expect the Dell rebate is going to end. And we only expect that because at the beginning of the year it had language indicating that that the Dell rebate would last through December 31st of this year. But then we didn't hear anything else about it or anything replacing it, and then it quietly got extended to now showing an end date of June 30th of 2025. So my guess has been that they're going to at some point here announce a benefit to replace that, and also I think the Adobe and Indeed credits or something were ending. So I've been waiting for them to announce something. I'm really surprised that they
Mhm.
just put this online, like in your account, before actually announcing it. So that's a little weird, but cool. I mean, great. If that's the case, that's awesome. That should be useful. And interestingly enough, we've talked about how there's really not much incentive to stay at Hilton's, for elite status or anything else, because you can just get elite
Right.
status through a credit card, and there's not really any significant enough milestone benefits to justify going out of your way to stay at Hilton. But
Right.
these quarterly credits do create a regular incentive to stay at a Hilton.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And you know, if you have a lot of these cards, which now I do, because my
Yeah.
wife and I each have two Hilton cards that earn quarterly credits, and now we currently have a total of five business platinum cards, and that's because of like
Yeah.
various opportunities to either sign up new for business platinum cards, even if you already had them, or in this case, many of them are. We had a bunch of business gold cards, and we got these upgrade offers, really great upgrade offers. So we're sitting on five of them, and so that's a lot of credits to try to earn each quarter. Now, if you're staying at a Hilton and you have all these cards with you, you can ask them, hey, can you run $50 on this card, $60 on this one, $50 on this one, and so on, and they'll do that. So yeah, definitely if you stay at a Hilton, pay for it at least once a quarter. That's great. You can also buy online Hilton gift cards, pay a small fee to get them mailed to you, but people have had mixed success using those entirely. So for some people, they won't. They're not able. The Hilton hotel that where you try to use them are not able to charge the full amount of the gift card, and so you end up with extra, like $5 left over or whatever on the card, which is annoying. So anyway, so those are a couple ways of dealing with it. You also, if you're staying at a Hilton in the future, if it takes deposit, you could pay your deposit, but I think that would be a hassle to try to pay, like at one hotel, pay a deposit across multiple cards. I'm not
Yeah,
sure how
probably
that
would
would
be a bit
work.
of a pain. Yeah, it probably would be a
Yeah,
bit of a pain. Yeah, I think realistically, because we have a bunch of business platinum cards too in my household. And so I think realistically, this is going to actually do what it's supposed to and incentivize me to stay at Hilton's because
yeah,
it's just going to be easier to deal with that way to actually just split payment at the desk, on checkout. That should be relatively simple to put $50 on each card. So I think I'm much more likely to at least once a quarter stay at a Hilton. So I think this is
yeah,
going to accomplish that. Not with one business platinum card. If I only had one card that had these quarterly credits, then I would probably buy the gift card and deal with the hassle or something of that sort, or the deposit on a hotel or whatnot. But with the number of cards that we have now that are going to have quarterly credits, I can stay at some Hiltons next year.
yeah, yeah. All right, quick question for you: if Dell credit is going away, are you happy or sad that it's being replaced by the Hilton $200?
Happy, I think. I
So we're
mean,
losing $400 in
400.
credits
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah.
Dell versus
But
200
but
with Hilton.
but what's left that I need to buy at Dell? It's like I'm getting to the point where there just aren't very many things. I mean, my kids are going to get some Nintendo Switch games for Christmas because they've got Nintendo Switch games, but they're at full price. I could probably get them cheaper somewhere else, and I don't really need to get them more games right now. It's just that
Yeah,
like there aren't very many things left at Dell that I need or want. So, because they've gotten rid of most third party stuff, so that's kind of annoying. Like they're the mouse that I use every day. I love it, and I actually bought a couple extras, and I don't know, one of them broke. I'd probably buy another one or two for backups. But they don't carry those anymore. They don't carry most of the earbuds and things anymore. So, yeah, it's I think I'm okay. It's a trade where I will stay at a Hilton hotel or buy the gift cards and use the gift cards that I don't think I'll have much trouble using. Whereas, man, I'm having a hard time finding stuff I still want to buy from Dell.
yeah, yeah. I was lucky. I finally got. I have that exact same reaction. I'm so sick of searching through Dell for things that I actually want or need, or even like remotely like would
Right,
consider like needing
right.
or whatever. But for an upcoming in person meeting for with the team, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a little portable projector in case we want to meet in an area that doesn't have a big enough like TV or whatever. And the Samsung Freestyle projector, which is a cute little device. It's like a size of a sort of a big can, like a bigger than a soda can, but not a lot bigger. It was on sale for $600, and as you know, you can split the charge three ways across three cards. So I had three business platinum cards, and I bought that projector, got it all refunded. So that was really cool, and it's been really fun playing with that projector. It's a really good little device. So
Yeah,
right now it's $800 though. So
gotta wait
when
until it goes on sale again.
yeah,
Yeah. I bought an Insta 360. I think I probably mentioned it on a show. A 360-degree camera that Greg has, and we've used on some previous challenges. And I brought it with me on this last challenge, but I didn't end up using it very much until the end because I just didn't
Mhm.
have time to get on the computer. And I thought I needed to edit all the footage on the computer. I totally forgot that you can edit it on the phone. So my
Right.
Christmas market footage at the end, like a couple of things at the very end, had that Insta 360 footage. And if I had realized sooner that I could edit it all on my phone, I probably would have had a lot more footage of that. I find it kind of fun. It's kind of gimmicky, and it's not the best thing since sliced bread, but it's also at the same time can be useful. So that was also $600 just about everywhere, I think. And so I used three business platinum cards to buy that. And going through Capital One
Yeah.
shopping yielded a nice amount of cash back. So that actually makes that benefit work out pretty well. If you find something like one of those things that you're like, I wouldn't mind having, I probably wouldn't buy it, but I wouldn't mind having it. And you have some business platinum cards to use. That's something that, those
Right,
are the
right.
types of things to look
So,
for.
so there are some fun things, but yeah, Nick and I
Yeah,
will
not
both be
much.
happy just not to have this headache in
Yeah.
the future if Dell credit does go away.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right, let's move
All
on.
right. All right. Let's move on. Crazy thing. What crazy thing did the IRS do this week? Narrow it down, please.
Yeah, so the IRS has a web page where they show the fees for paying your taxes with a credit card. There are three, credited processors companies that IRS like sort of allows to take tax payments, and they each have different fees for paying with a credit card or a debit card. And on the IRS website, one of those three processors disappeared, even though if you went to them, they were still taking tax payments, no problem. And the other two displayed lower fees than usual. And so we posted about this, but people noticed that when clicking through to those processors, the fees were still what they were before.
Uh,
And then a day or two later, the IRS actually put back their previous web page. So I think somebody jumped the gun on what is going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. So that'll be a shame if we lose one of the processors.
yeah.
But it's good news for the other two if the fees actually come down a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so moral of the story is use it before we lose it if you need the three processors, and you might need that if you're paying by, for instance, debit card, if you're using gift cards maybe, because you can only do so many payments per processor, right? So if
Yeah,
you need
for
the
a given
three, then
type of tax you're paying, like if you're paying, let's say fourth quarter estimated taxes, you can make two payments per processor, so a total of six payments with your credit card or with debit cards for that specific thing. Then you could do another six for your end of year taxes
there
because
you
those are
go.
considered
Yeah.
different.
So if you need multiple, if you're trying to hit multiple welcome bonuses, so you want to make different, multiple payments or whatever the case might be, then moral of the story might be to use those now before we lose one, because we may lose one. But the good news, I think, is definitely a lower fee. I mean, everybody will be happy with a lower fee and earning rewards with a lower fee. So that'll be a nice change there. All right, mattress running the numbers. Greg's up with a mattress run question. Go ahead. Why don't you ask it? What's going on?
Yeah. Should I mattress run one Marriott night? Here's the situation.
Okay.
I currently have 71 nights, and I've got 3 nights on the books before the end of the year. So that brings me to 74. I want to get to 75 because that's where you get titanium status. And titanium status, among other things, gives you United Silver status and Air Canada 25K status, which is their equivalent of silver status, really. So I like having those. I don't use those perks a lot, but it's nice. Like if I am flying one of those airlines, it's nice to have the free check bags and whatever other benefits that gives you. So being just one night short, I want to get there. Okay. So I previously said that I had handled this by making sure I had spent $5,000 on my Marriott Bonvoy Boundless, I
There
think.
you go.
One
That's the
of the
one, I think. Yeah.
one of
Pretty
the
sure.
one of the Bonvoy cards that starts with a B. Anyway,
Brent, one of those. Thank you for narrowing
it's
that down.
it's the Chase card that gives you an elite night for every $5,000 you spend on the card. So I did that, but right after I did that, right after I finished the
Mm.
5,000, I got
Mm.
my early December statement, and that charge was not on there yet.
Oh,
And
swing and a
so my
miss.
yeah, so my next statement closes in January. I don't know if they'll retroactively award the Elite Night for 2024. So
Yeah.
now I'm at a point like, should I just like find the cheapest Marriott stay I can find and get that one night, or should I hope that this credit card thing gets retroactively applied?
I wouldn't hope. I would definitely get that mattress run. I think the silver status is worth it. Like you, I know you don't fly United or Air Canada very often, but just one time, the benefits could easily make it worthwhile. Or like I think of a situation like the one I'm in this weekend. Greg already mentioned that I'm flying American. And I was debating for one direction, do I use 15,000 American miles plus the, I don't know, 40 or $50 in taxes, or do I use United Travel Bank credit? Because it was like 380 bucks, I think, on United. And so I was kind of debating between the two. And, I have status with American Airlines, so I could pick an exit row seat and have a chance at an upgrade and priority boarding and all that. And it passes through an airport where I'd have lounge access. With United, I'd have none of that. So I'd end up getting whatever free
Mm.
seat I can somewhere in the back of the plane. No elite benefits. So, no check bag if I needed one or whatever else. And so in that case, I ended up going with American over United. But if I had United Silver status, maybe that would have changed the equation because maybe I could have gotten a better seat at check-in and, then that would have,
Yeah.
or at booking, and that might have made a difference.
Were you factoring United gives a perk to all members though that American Airlines doesn't, which is that they're likely to get you there.
I didn't
I
factor
find
that
that
in.
perk pretty valuable.
Yeah, it is a pretty good one. Yeah, it's a good one for a base member perk. That's a pretty good one. Yeah. No, I did not factor that in. But so anyway, yes, I think you should do your one night because it won't cost you very much. If you find a cheap
Yeah.
award or a cheap cash rate, you should be able to do that
Yeah.
for less than $100. It's worthwhile, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll do that for sure.
Yeah.
I hate
Okay.
it that
Well,
that
right.
I,
Yeah.
well, just that I thought I had
Yeah.
it done, having done that spend, and now it's like, but it's not as
Yeah.
bad as having to fly to Mexico.
Well, true story. But the funny thing is, I had a big purchase that I was contemplating making yesterday, and I was going to make it on my Freedom Unlimited because I need some chase points right now, and it was something that wouldn't trigger a bonus category. And I realized that my statement was going to cut yesterday. I was like, oh man, that's not going to come in time for me to even get those points right now. So I rethought that whole situation. So I did think to look at that for a different situation just yesterday, and realize it was not going to cut in time. The other thing is that I talked last week about Hyatt, and I'm short of globalist status with Hyatt, and so I thought that my statement for Hyatt cut early in December, but I think live on the show I looked at it and I was like, oh no, it doesn't cut until the end of December, and that's actually come in handy because I did end up spending quite a bit on my Hyatt card. So I've got I think on my next statement 6 elite nights coming in from that'll come in just before the end of the month, hopefully,
Mm.
and I'm still going to end up being 3 nights short. So I'm still going to probably need a 3 night mattress run. Should I do that for 60 nights, Craig?
A 3 night mattress run for
3 nights.
60 nights. Yeah. I mean, there are so many benefits at 60. You get automatic, globalist status, but also, what do you get? You get some upgrade certificates, you
Yep.
get some
Two suite
guest of
upgrade awards,
honor.
2 guest of honors. Yep.
Yeah.
What category 1 to 7
Oh,
free night
yeah.
certificate.
Right there. That could be worth a few cheap
Right.
nights. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm figuring. So anyway,
Yeah.
so mattress run coming from me also. All right. Let's talk about awards, points, and more quickly.
There's a lot of Alaska news out, Alaska Airlines. So, first of all, they are making Seattle an international hub. I think we all sort of assumed this was coming when they bought Hawaiian. But they already have some announcements about new routes from Seattle to Asia, like to Tokyo, I think is the first one coming out. So that's kind of cool, especially for Seattle area people, that you get some new opportunities there.
Mhm.
We knew that next year they're planning to combine the Alaska and Hawaiian loyalty programs all into one program, which will be the Alaskan program. We didn't know when in 2025. We still don't, but we have a narrower window, which is summer 2025. So, assuming that's based on the Northern Hemisphere summer, then we know within approximately a 3 month window when that's happening.
There's a good chance. It's a good chance it's the Northern Hemisphere summer that we're
I
talking
think
about.
so.
Probably. Yeah. And so worth a mention, probably transfers from Amex membership boards to Hawaiian are going to end no later than that. Right. So,
Correct.
and potentially earlier. So between now and summer, that's going to probably go away. So if you have ambitions to make a transfer there, consider that your
Yep.
notice.
Yep. Yep. And then one of the more exciting announcements, there's not a lot of information about it yet, but Alaska is launching a premium card, a $395 annual fee card in summer. in a Northern Hemisphere summer, most likely, of 2025. And if you join the wait list by the end of this year, so by December 31st of 2024, you automatically get 500 miles. And if you then later sign up for the card, you'll get 5,000 miles more than whatever the welcome bonus is at the time. So there's a good incentive to just go ahead and join the waiting list, I think, even if you don't think you're going to want the card, why not take the 500 miles? So I have that as a to-do personally. I want to go ahead and grab that for everyone in my family.
Very good. Yeah. Well,
Um,
that's great. And it sounds like this might be interesting. And even if it's not, signing up for the wait list makes sense.
Yeah, totally. So there's some teasers about what the card includes, like global companion award certificates and a lot more stuff. We'll do a coffee break episode where we talk about that and discuss these things, try to figure out how excited are we
Yeah.
about
All
this new
right.
card.
Well, you know what? I'm going to make my first prediction of 2025 right now, so you can't steal this when you do your predictions post. But the reason will be clear. So I'm going to predict right now that January 1st, 2025, and I could be wrong. This is just a prediction. I'm going to predict that on January 1st, the Hawaiian Airlines credit cards will no longer be available. That's going to be my
Oh,
bet because fiscal year ends the end of the year for Barclays. They had the investor call earlier this year where they kind of hinted at the fact that they don't intend to have airline cards in the long term, or really that they're going to focus on other things and airline co-branded cards. I'm thinking that those are going away December 31st, especially with this premium card, needing to sign up for the wait list by December 31st. I'm thinking that January 1st, something's changing.
right. You heard it here first. If you haven't already jumped on those Hawaiian Airlines cards and you're interested in doing that so that you can get Alaska Airline miles easily, do that now, right
I think
now,
so.
and before the end of the year. I think that's great. And also, just as an aside, don't forget we think the Barclays American Airlines cards are going away. We don't know when. I don't think Nick's predicting end of year necessarily, but it's
No, I don't
possible.
know. Yeah, it's possible. I
Um,
don't know.
so anyway, that's another one to jump on, especially because the Aviator Red Card has a nice welcome bonus right now.
Hmm.
So another
Yep.
one to go for, assuming that's still true when you listen to this podcast. As we're recording, last I saw it was 70,000 miles
Yeah.
after first purchase, which is just a great offer.
It is. It is. The Waldorf Astoria, New York is the next thing we're going to talk about. The fact that that is now bookable with both points and free night certificates. So if you've got Hilton points or Hilton free night certificates, you can now book the Waldorf Astoria, New York starting in late 2025. I think right now, as we record this, it says September 2025 onward, you can book. So it's 150,000 points a night. At least all the nights that I saw that were available as awards were 150,000 points. Don't be surprised if you go and you look at a weekend now and you don't find it available, because this did come out this week that it was now taking reservations. So I'm sure a lot of people jumped on it because cash rates, at least on the weekends that I looked at, were like $1,700 a night. So pretty good use of Hilton points.
Yeah, so this Waldorf Astoria has been closed for renovation for a long time. I expect it's going to be really, really nice with the new thing. But yeah, we haven't seen it open in, I don't know, what has it
It's been
been, 80,
years.
90 years, something like that.
It's been a long time. Yeah.
Not
It's been
quite.
a long, long time. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I never stayed there before, but from people who did, it sounded like it was in need of a renovation. A bunch of the regular guest rooms anyway. And it sounds like they have really gone all out to try to renovate it by both making it kind of have its classic look and feel, but making it modern. At least that's what they're trying to tout anyway and market at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. Now, like anything else, if you stay in the first month or two, don't be surprised to find some growing pains, because that's often the case with new
Yeah.
hotels. So you may want to hold off a little bit. You don't necessarily need to jump right now, or maybe jump on a reservation a few months later after it's scheduled to open. Might be a better strategy.
Yep. Yep. And who
All right.
knows, maybe in the future this hotel will be one of our favorite hotels of the year, favorite award bookings of the year, but
Yeah.
won't be this year because it's not open as we talk.
Right, right. But I could certainly see using an Aspire card free night certificate annually if it's nice. I imagine it'll be nice. We'll see. All right, let's get into this week's main event, though, and talk about what our favorite awards were of 2024.
Yeah, let's get into it. Main event time. All right, I'm gonna list my candidate awards, and but I won't pick a winner just yet. And then Nick will list his candidates, and then we'll tell which were our favorites overall. Um, why don't we do it this way? I'll do my flights, then you do your flights, Nick,
Okay,
and then
fair.
we'll cycle that way.
Let's do
All
it.
right. Here are the flights that I thought were really good award flights that I took in 2024. Starlux, that pretty new airline that is based in Taipei. I flew from I was going to say L.A., but now was it L.A. or San Francisco? I think it was L.A. L.A. to Taipei and back in business class. I paid only 60,000 Alaska miles at the time each way. Today, it's a bit more than that if you can find Saver Award availability. But Alaska also charges like it's not quite any time availability, but another level where it's much more expensive, like 100 and I don't know 78,000 per person one way or something like that.
Mhm.
But the best price I think is 80 something thousand one way, which is still a really good deal. Very nice product, beautiful plane and everything, great service. I flew Turkish business class from Detroit to Gothenburg via Istanbul, and I didn't love the flight because there were some things I had very high expectations for certain things about it that weren't met.
Mm.
But I loved what I loved was a couple things. One, Turkish is pretty new flying out of Detroit, so I love being able to take advantage of that convenience for me. I loved having a long, comfortable flight to Europe overnight. So it was about 10-hour flight, plenty of time to have a meal, put the seat down, go to sleep, and not feel like,
That's
oh, I only
nice.
have 4 hours, so I have to get to sleep right away, and then that dooms
Right.
me getting to sleep at all. So I actually had a good night's sleep, and then took the short flight from there onward to Gothenburg. So I enjoyed that flight a lot. Um, all right. During the flying by the seat of our points challenge, I had a couple really nice flights. I had KLM and their new suites product from Vancouver to Amsterdam, and then I flew onward in business class to Zagreb, Croatia. That one, I would say a lot of nice things about it, probably, except I slept like a baby for the entire flight. So I,
So you don't even know. You don't even
there's
know.
not much to say. I mean, it was comfortable and I slept well, so that was great. From Zagreb, I flew Qatar and then Malaysia Airlines business class from Zagreb to Doha, then onward to Kuala Lumpur. And that first flight, the Qatar flight, even though it was like a narrow body plane with 2x2 seating, not even necessarily, I don't really know if it was even fully lie flat. The service was unbelievable. Like both the interactions and the food. I got like lobster thermidor, and it was just out of this world good. Such a weird, like random flight to love so much, but I did. It was really
That's great.
terrific. Yeah, the Malaysia flight was also terrific, but it and had true lie flat seats and stuff, but it kind of paled compared to just because the Qatar flight was so good.
That makes
Um,
sense.
Another one I flew United business class to London from Chicago. This one I loved because United saved us from American Airlines. We,
Don't jinx me, Greg. Don't jinx
yeah,
me.
right. Well, luckily for you, I'm not on any of your flights, so I think you'll be okay. But just a quick recap. American, we had booked Detroit to London via Charlotte, and that flight was like delayed, and I ended up rebooking Detroit to Chicago to London on American, and we got to Chicago, got on the flight to London. An engine blew. They returned to Chicago, and I asked them to change us to the United flight that same day, and they did. And so that was so
That's, I
there was
mean,
nothing notable about the flight itself, except that it got us there. So, again, a hidden benefit that United offers to
hidden
all flyers,
benefit. Everybody
regardless
on
of
the
how
plane
you.
gets that one.
Everybody on the plane gets the same benefit.
You get to arrive and you get to, it's like Oprah.
That same trip, we flew JetBlue home from London and business class, and Wonderful business class product. I was really, really pleased with it. It was a daytime flight, which I recommend because it was just really great service, great seat and everything. Like the cabin feels very spacious and just modern and nice. Really enjoyed that.
You know what?
Um,
I'm going to jump in on that because I all forgot. We also flew JetBlue Mint this year to Europe, to Dublin. I
yeah,
didn't put this in my list, and here's why. Greg's absolutely right. Seats really nice. Service was surprisingly good, much better than what I typically expect when I fly a US based airline. It was much more like the service you might get on a good foreign airline. So give him a lot of credit for that. But from a family perspective, seats were horrible because
yeah,
they
they're
don't
too private.
they're too private. Exactly. They angle in. You can't see the kids or anything. So with my kids, I don't think I would take that one again because I was just constantly like, mommy, daddy, like somebody calling from over a seat. And if I had my
Right.
headphones on, I wasn't hearing it. So goodness knows how many times everybody else had to hear the kids say mommy or daddy. So not one I would probably take with the family again.
Yeah, yeah. Some people have been complaining because JetBlue is no longer apparently allowing those doors on those suites to close. But
Yeah.
believe me, the way these seats are designed, they're very private, even with the door wide open. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. I wouldn't let that stop you from flying JetBlue business if you're not flying with little
Yeah.
kids.
I flew before they stopped before they did that before they removed a flight attendant is what it was I think and now they have to stay open. So I flew before that change and I didn't nobody closed the door on the flight. They were all open still.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, a few more flights. So on the latest Million Mile Madness Challenge, I flew Etihad First Apartments from Paris to Abu Dhabi, and that was fantastic. It was a daytime flight. Got to fully enjoy everything about it. All the food, the top shelf, champagne and wine and the and whiskey even on that flight. And I took a shower on board. I had a nice nap with a lie flat dedicated bed that's separate from the chair you sit in. All of that stuff was amazing. Um, I also flew on that trip, Japan Airlines first class from Tokyo to Chicago. And while the physical aspect of it doesn't compare to Etihad first, the service, food and catering, like catering and service, absolutely, in some ways excel, like was above what Eddie had first. I mean, they're so close. It's really hard to compare. But I thought some of the food and drink available on the Japan Airlines flight did exceed what was available on the Etihad first flight. So really love that salon champagne. And I don't usually care for champagne that much. Like I'll have like one of those like top shelf ones and be like, yeah, tastes like wine with bubbles, but this one was different. I really,
Yeah,
really enjoyed it. And apparently doing a quick Google search, apparently that stuff's really expensive. So
it
yes,
is.
that
It
was some good
is.
stuff. So anyway, those are my flight contenders for my best flight award for 2024.
Yeah, yeah. So and similarly, the Etihad and Japan Airlines, I flew both also this year. I flew Etihad first on the same challenge as Greg, the Million Mile Madness challenge, and I flew Japan Airlines first on the way home from our flying by the seat of our points challenge. And so I totally agree with most of what he said about Etihad, although I've previously said because I had the overnight flight, catering was not as good on mine and service was not as good. Seats, fantastic, though. Great way to fly. So not much more to say about that beyond what Greg already said. Japan Airlines first, the two things that I'll add to that. Well, first of all, I will concur that salon champagne is really good. And you're right that a lot of champagne tastes kind of similar to me. And I don't have a lot of other I think it's like $1,200 a bottle or something, right? I mean, I don't have a lot of other $1,200 champagnes to compare it to. So I don't know if it's great compared to other things in its price point, but man, it
Hmm.
was good. It was really good. So
Something about it.
yeah. And I'll like if I have champagne, I don't maybe I probably like champagne more than Greg, but not a lot more than Greg. Like I'll drink a glass or maybe half a glass even and not finish it usually. I finished a few glasses of that
Yeah.
champagne. So it was really good. So I agree with that. The other thing is I flew Japan Airlines first class from Bangkok to Tokyo and then on to Chicago. And the Bangkok to Tokyo, like interesting thing there is that the you get access to the Qatar Airways lounge there in Bangkok, which is really nice. And they have like a whole sit down restaurant type thing where you order from a QR code. I was really surprised for an outstation lounge. It's small, but it's really well done and it looks so much nicer than most outstation lounges. So if you get a chance to fly first class out of Bangkok, that's certainly one to consider a visit to. For a lounge, it stood out for a tiny little outstation lounge. It was really well done. So that's worth a mention, I think. Also, by the way, the pajamas on Etihad, I don't think you mentioned those. Really like those pajamas too. They were
Oh
really
yeah,
comfortable.
they're really great.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, the amenity kit was pretty amazing, and the
Yeah.
pajamas, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but
Actually,
the
both airlines, I like the pajamas. I mean, I wear both of those still. So, yeah.
yeah, great stuff on both. Yeah.
Okay, flights. Back to my flights. My other flights. So I have my big aeroplan award in here, and it's not really for the flights itself, but rather for the award, really, because I was able to book a
Yeah.
big aeroplan award from Paris to Mauritius to Kuala Lumpur to Singapore to Osaka, and the booking was all the way on to Guam, although I didn't take the last flight. And there was a stopover in Mauritius for 5 days in the middle of that, and there was 115,000 miles to fly in business class, plus a really reasonable amount of taxes, a couple $100, I think. So that was awesome because I got to get to a place like Mauritius. Never would have considered going there probably if not for award travel, right? I mean, it's so far away
Right.
and kind of remote and hard to get to. Not many airlines fly there. I'm sure it's probably relatively expensive to buy a cash ticket. Wouldn't have been on the map for me, but award travel puts that on the map. So that was enjoyable. The flights themselves were fine. Singapore Airlines business class always good, and Air Mauritius was a solid fine. But it was just more so paying 115,000 miles with a stopover to mix Air Mauritius, which isn't partners with very many airlines, plus some Star Alliance carriers. I really enjoyed that in concept.
Yeah, I think that's so cool. I want to mention for those who know, like you might be thinking, well, ANA offers you could fly around the world for 115,000 miles if you plan it right. But a couple things here. ANA is going to charge a lot more in taxes and fees to do that with most carriers that you fly. But also Air Canada has partners that ANA that are not in the Star Alliance, and to do the ANA thing, you're limited to only Star Alliance. Even if ANA is partnered with other ones, you can't fly those for that round the world award. So like next Air Mauritius flight, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So yeah,
Right.
it would have been a
Yes.
different
Good
trip. So
point.
this is a
Good
great
point.
way to use Aeroplan miles.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. And Air Mauritius was a solid fine. It wasn't like great, it didn't wow me, but the flatbed seats and food was okay, service was fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, so there you have it. That's that. I think that's all I had for flights, right? Because I mean, those were the big ones for me this year. I mean, I flew lots of other flights that were all solid fines, like I just described Air Mauritius, but nothing else that really stood out as a best of the best.
All right. So rather than waiting to then, let's go ahead and pick what was our single best flight award overall. Why don't you go first?
Oh man, this is so tough. You know, Etihad Apartments is such a luxurious way to fly that I'm tempted to pick that just because the seat is so good. But because my experience with it on the overnight flight was a little subpar, I'm going to actually go with the Japan Airlines. It was a great deal for 80,000 American Airlines miles. Fantastic deal. Service was so good, and there were only a couple of people in first class, and the seat, while not as flashy as some other first class seats, is nice. It's really spacious.
Really,
And
it's super spacious, super nice, super comfortable. It's like you can't complain about it. It's just
right.
that when you compare one to the other, it's obvious that which one's
Yeah,
better. But
it's certainly not as flashy as others, but every other aspect of the experience basically is really good. And actually, I can't remember what happened, but for whatever reason, I needed help with something in Bangkok, and when I got to or in Tokyo rather, and when I got to the lounge, I don't remember what it was. They needed to do something with my boarding passes or whatever it was. As soon as they saw, they were like, "Okay, here, we'll take care of this. You go sit down, and we'll bring it to you. We'll find you when we've gotten
yeah,
done whatever." And so they did
yeah,
that piece, and they hand wrote out a tag for my bag, my carry-on backpack. They hand wrote out my name and flight number and stuff on like a, one of those little tags for your name for your bag. But they did it so neatly that it looked like it was printed. If I didn't know somebody
Oh,
hand wrote it
wow.
because I saw him
Wow.
start with it, I would have thought that
Yeah.
it was printed.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I forgot to mention that Japan Airlines has a new first class like entry when you're entering the airport, Haneda Airport in Tokyo, and you're flying first class on Japan Airlines. They bring you to this big unmarked door, and escort you through. There's like a lounge area before their private security. I don't know why you'd ever be there, except maybe in a situation like what you just mentioned. Maybe if there was something that needed to be taken care of before you could go in, they would probably sit you there and take care of it while you relax in that lounge. But then they take you to a private security, where they run your bags through the scanner. There was literally no other person there except for the guard and me, and the person escorting me through. And so I'm through in like, 30 seconds or whatever to the other side. It was really, really nice. And to go right from there to the lounge, which is just around the corner. Really nice way to start that experience if you're starting in Tokyo.
Yeah. So is that your best flight, or
So
is like what's the champion here?
yeah, it's so funny. I had so many good flights, but both Japan Airlines and Etihad First Apartments were my top two favorites. So it's funny. It's that Nick and I had the same two
What are the
favorites
chances?
to try to choose from. I have to give Etihad First the nod just because it may have been more about how like what I did on board than anything they did. But because I did like that wine tasting experience and took a shower on board, which I couldn't have done on Japan Airlines. They don't offer that. Those kind of different things that I did there give it a slight edge, but it's really, really close.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good. All right. So that's flights. Now, what about the nights?
It's a good way to put it. All right, here are my candidates. I stayed with Hyatt points at the Miraval Austin. Which Miraval is like that luxury wellness retreat type of thing. Hyatt has its own award chart for Miraval. It's not the, even though they're all inclusives, it's not the all inclusive award chart. It's not their standard room award chart. It's its own Miraval one. So it's very expensive with points. You have to like Miraval is its own thing. It's not the most luxurious resort you could stay in. It has some luxury to it. It certainly, I mean, you're not going to complain about luxury, especially the Austin one is very, very nice. But it's more about like lots of wellness things you can do. So it has all kinds of things. Whether you're interested in exercise, there's lots of exercise options. If you're interested in meditation and yoga, there's lots of those kind of things. If you're interested in spiritual stuff, there's all kinds of things there. If you're interested in horses, there are various horse experiences. So it's hard to compare to other things. However, now stayed at three different Miravals, and while there's certain aspects of this one I like better than the others, I like overall. I like the one in Tucson and the one in the Berkshires better for different reasons than this one. So if I was going to go back to one or the other, it would be one of those other two, I think. So okay,
Interesting.
so that was one
So
stay.
Miraval Austin made the list, but it's not the best Miraval that you've been to overall
Yeah,
for
yeah, but I
different
haven't been to the
reasons.
other ones this year, so
This
it
year,
made the list
yes.
for this year.
Right.
Great Scotland Yard Hotel in London is a Hyatt, just a really cool hotel where it's built from the old Scotland Yard building, and so they put in all these whimsical touches, including a speakeasy where you touch a book or something on a bookshelf and the door opens
Fun,
to get
fun.
into the speakeasy. So stuff like that makes it a really good place to stay especially if you're a tourist. It's right in the heart of like where you want to be tourist wise, but on a quiet side street, so you're away from the
Hmm.
noise a little bit, and but right in the thick of, you want to go see the changing of the guard. It's like quarter mile away, maybe. I mean, it's really, really close.
Nice.
So That was cool. Another trip, we stayed at the St. Pancras, London. Again, my wife and I have stayed many, many times. If you get an upgrade, which we did to a suite, it's in this special wing of the hotel where it's a whole different. If you stay in the regular part of the hotel, it's a nice hotel, but it's just a hotel. If you stay in the chambers wing, I think it's
Yep,
called,
that's what it is. The chamber swing. Yeah.
then you have it's really nice, and that wing has sort of separate parts to it, and the part where they always put us because they always like, oh, you've stayed here before, like they do this ahead of time. They put us in the same room most of the time,
Wow.
which is great,
I
and
hope that
it
happens to
has
me someday.
yeah, it has these extraordinarily high ceilings, just beautifully decorated room. It's more of a junior suite than a real suite, but we don't mind when there's just the two of us.
Sure.
And it's right near the stairway that walks down to their really luxurious lounge, and I really it's just become sort of a second home to us because we've been there so many times, and we get in that same room and enjoy spending time in that luxurious lounge. So that combination makes it just a special place for us.
I can't recall. Have you stayed in a regular room there, or have you been in the chamber swing every time?
We did once stay in a regular room.
Okay.
If you have platinum, no, so if you have Marriott Titanium status, they'll let you into that special lounge. If you only have platinum status, they won't. They'll still give you free breakfast in their restaurant, but you can't get into the lounge where you have not only free breakfast but free afternoon tea time with all kinds of delicious snacks and a sort of a evening canapes and drinks and stuff that's all included if you get into the lounge. Yeah, the regular part of the hotel, very nicely decorated rooms, but it looks like a hotel room, so
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
In the chambers wing, it feels like you're staying in a castle.
It kind of looks like it too. Yeah.
It looks like, yeah, from the
Yeah.
outside, absolutely.
Yeah. Even from
Okay.
the inside, those big arch, like like the staircase. I think of the staircase, and the
Oh
staircase
yeah.
looks like it belongs in a castle.
Absolutely. In fact, that staircase has been in a lot of different movies and
Movies and
videos. So
videos, yeah.
there's like famous music videos that the Spice Girls, I think,
Yeah,
have
yep,
a
yep. And
famous
there's
one
some,
there.
and I guess Batman Arkham Asylum. There's a scene. I looked it up, and it's a little hard to tell if that's where it is when you see the scene because it's pretty dark. But if you know what you're
Yeah.
looking for anyway, you'd be like, oh yeah, that totally is that staircase.
And actually, if you watch like British TV much, you see this hotel like all the time. It's so
Yeah, sure.
iconic. I think they like to film in front of it or in it. So it's pretty cool because we're always like, "There's a hotel," you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's fun. Okay. Another one in Oslo. We stayed in the America Lingen. I'm sure that's not how you pronounce it, but something like that.
Might be.
Ascend Hotel Collection Hotel. We paid only 20,000 choice points, and that's one where it's even though it is part of preferred hotels, you can also book it directly with choice points, and so there's less problems that way. And it's
Okay.
like a
Oh, okay.
$300 $400 a night hotel in season. Pretty luxurious hotel. We loved it. Stay there 2 nights. Location can't be beat. We came in and left by train, and it's literally across the street from the train station, right in the middle of Oslo. Love that. Great breakfast there. Very comfortable rooms and really neat robes and slippers they offer there. So anyway, only 20,000 points. So the reason it's on the list is because what a great deal, with choice points.
Okay,
Um,
wait. Before you go on from there, prediction number two for 2025. Well, actually,
yeah.
shoot, it's not going to work out because it's going to happen in 2024. I was going to say Greg's pronunciation of American Lynching is going to get corrected, but that's
Already done.
or whatever it is. I don't know how you say it.
Lynching,
Definitely
that
going to happen
sounds
before the end of
rightish.
2024. Somebody's
There
going
you
to
go.
correct our pronunciation. There's my second prediction.
Very good, and I welcome that. All right. My wife and I stayed recently at the St. Regis Chicago. It's a fairly new hotel, about a year old or so, I think. It was infamous initially when it opened for not giving platinum elites free breakfast. What they do now, though, is they give you $60 credit towards the hotel breakfast, which is enough depending on what you buy, especially if you don't order like coffee or anything with it, which worked out for us because I used nightly upgrade awards to upgrade to a big, beautiful suite. Great view of the river. So you could have views either of like the river or the lake or Millennium Park, like depending on which way you're looking, I think. And so nice views from that hotel. The if you get in a suite, you get a butler who can do things like will do things for free, like shine your shoes. So we actually brought shoes just to do that.
Just to get them
So
shined. I love
yeah,
it.
they'll press some of your clothes. So I had some wrinkled shirts. I got pressed. But the other thing, they'll bring you coffee service each morning if you ask for it, and you could ask for lattes or whatever you want. And so we really enjoy that, like having the coffee service brought to our room, laze around in the morning a bit, then go to breakfast. And we didn't order coffee because we'd already had our coffee. And so that whole thing worked out really well. Very nice stay at the St. Regis Chicago.
Yeah, that's great. That's very good. Good to hear, and smart strategy on getting the coffee in your room if it wasn't going to be covered by whatever they give you for breakfast anyway. Smart strategy there. I like that. Greg the frequent miler, thinking ahead, bringing the shoes to get shined, the clothes to get pressed, and getting the coffee up front. I mean, that's
There.
some Greg the frequent miler math right there. Well done. Well done.
There you go.
All right.
All right, my final candidate is the Conrad Tokyo, which I stayed at the end of my Million Mile Madness trip. I paid, I think, 95,000 Hilton points for this, I don't know, $700 a night at the time, something like that hotel. So good value for the points, but not like amazing. The Conrad Tokyo I've been at before. It's a very elegant, very nicely done hotel, great service. The rooms, they have these like big rooms. It doesn't matter if you're not in a suite, if there's just two of you, because the rooms are really spacious. Have these big sofas up against this big picture window that makes the sofa seem like a huge window seat basically, and looking out at the bay was is Tokyo Bay is just really nice. And so I liked everything about that stay. It was just one night, and probably probably the most noteworthy thing about the stay is not really about the Conrad, but it was the first night for that whole trip I got to not set an alarm and just luxuriate, sleep in the
Sleep
morning,
in.
go have a nice leisurely breakfast. So that stay was notable for that reason.
Nice to have that after a week of rapid travel. So, or not even a week, less than a week of rapid travel. A lot of rapid travel there. Very good. All right. Well, so you got some excellent ones, Sarah. I don't have much that's going to compete with some of that, although I do have a couple of stays to highlight anyway. And actually, I was going to take one off the list. I'm going to add it back on the list, just not going to say much about it. And that's the Caption by Hyatt Namba Osaka. So this is a new brand from Hyatt. I think Caption maybe just came out this year, or if not that long ago. So it's a new one you can hit for Brand Explorer. For a Brand Explorer free night certificate, one of the different milestone type things you can earn with Hyatt. And I mention this because this place is a category one right now. And at category one, it's a slamming deal. It's got a good location.
Wow.
It's right near an outdoor market there. And it was off peak. It was 3,500 points a night. So that it's a terrific deal. It made it hard to even consider any place else
Wow.
to stay
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Osaka. Like, what am I going to look for that's going to be comparable to 3,500 points a night? There's nothing.
Right.
So,
Right. So
yeah.
that's awesome. Is it still category one?
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they
What
haven't
a
done
great
any
deal.
category
And you
change
love
yet.
Osaka, right?
Yeah, I do. Osaka's fun to walk around. It's a cool Japanese city. It's not as overwhelming as Tokyo, but yet still a big city, and so there's still plenty to do. I mean, the aquarium is amazing. The tanks there, they have multiple whale sharks in their big tank, so it gives you a sense of scale as to how big that tank has to be. There's a lot of other stuff in there too. So yeah, there's plenty to do to keep you busy and have a great time. So good food. Yeah, so 3,500 points a night. That's hard to beat.
That
So
sure
to
is.
mention it
Wow.
for that. Grand Hyatt Tokyo. We stayed at the Grand Hyatt Tokyo, and I didn't love the Grand Hyatt Tokyo, but I loved the use of a suite upgrade award there because that was an amazing value. Tokyo is a city where I imagine most rooms are relatively small. The Conrad Tokyo, like Greg said, has really spacious rooms, but I imagine most hotels probably have relatively small rooms in Tokyo. And so the space of the suite at the Grand Hyatt was really nice. Being able to confirm that at the time of booking, I think I booked this stay 6, 8, 10 months in advance. It was far in advance. And so being able to confirm a suite for 5 nights was really nice. If you go there, don't miss the massage chairs in the spa area. If you go into the locker room, you got to go into like the men's or women's locker rooms, and don't miss the massage chairs. High-end Japanese massage chairs are really good. I didn't realize that they had them because I didn't go into the locker room. I didn't have any reason to go into the locker room until the last night, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had known that sooner because I would have been down there once a night. I'm not a massage guy, but massage chairs, that's different. So
Interesting. Okay.
I like massage chairs. So there we have that. The Grand Hyatt Kauai we went back to this year. We've been there a couple times before. Also, this is kind of like our St. Pancras London in the sense that it's a place we really enjoy, and we've been there 3 or 4 times or something. And so beautiful hotel. It's gotten more expensive over time, so now it's a higher category than it used to be. However, we still love it. The place is beautiful. Service is really warm and friendly and nice. Lounge is good. That saved us a whole bunch of money because my kids would have asked for a snack or a drink at the pool every single day, and we were able to just go into the lounge and get a cookie and milk or juice or whatever. And so that saved me a bundle having lounge access. And because of course my Hyatt Globalist status, we didn't get any sort of an upgrade. We had like a parking lot view, which we've had nice rooms there before. This time around, we didn't get anything special from the room, and yet we still extended our stay by 3 or 4 nights more than we originally intended to, just because we didn't want to leave. So we really like that place. And then finally,
so wait a minute. It's worth mentioning that as we're recording
oh
this,
yes,
our own Stephen Pepper's there right now,
right now,
enjoying his 50th state. He and his wife have been doing this many-year road trip around the United States, hitting every state and spending significant time in each state. So they've been nomads, and they left Hawaii to the end and didn't drive to Hawaii. So I think that was kind of cheating, but I can understand
it's a
it.
road trip, guys.
Logistically, it's difficult. But yeah, they're there enjoying that hotel right now, and coincidentally, Tim is also. He's not at that hotel, but he's in the same town. So he's in Poipu, Kauai, and so they may be, two of them may be meeting up as we speak. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and I've been seeing pictures that Stephen and his wife have posted on their social media and whatnot, and I'm jealous. Each picture I see, I'm like, oh man, I love that place. The beach is nearby. I really enjoy. I don't know. There's something about Kauai. I like all the Hawaiian islands, but something about Kauai that I just like a little bit more. And even though the Grand Hyatt Kauai is a huge resort and it really is big, got to bring your walking shoes because depending on where your room is, it might be quite a hike from the reception area to get to your room. But I still love it because the grounds are so well kept. The pool's really nice. It's just a good place to go.
I've never stayed there, but I've been to Kauai like at least 3 times, and I have the same thing as Nick, which my wife and I just love it, and we've been to the other islands several times as well, but Kauai is still our favorite. It's just like that happy place where everything is beautiful and good.
Pace is slow. It doesn't feel overdeveloped in the same way that some
Yeah.
places like that would. And people still seem really friendly everywhere you go. I mean, even like just going to parks and playing with other kids, local folks, people are just so nice. There was a woman
Yeah.
we ran into. I can't even remember. I think she said she used to work at the Grand Hyatt Kauai in the lounge is what it was. And our kids played with her kids for a little bit. And then we were in the lounge and mentioned that to one of the other workers. They were like, oh my goodness, blah, blah. They're talking about her. And it's just, people are just nice and friendly. So
Yeah. Well, and I have to mention a few other things. Sea turtles are everywhere. Like they'll just climb up on the beach, or you could go snorkeling in different places where sea turtles are plentiful, and you could just see them in the water. The beauty, like drive up Waimea Canyon. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. I mean, I feel confident saying that. I haven't been to a lot of beautiful, really startlingly beautiful places, but Waimea Canyon will hold its own with any of them.
For sure. Agreed. When we took that drive this year, and we've been before, but still do it again and would do it again, in a heartbeat, another time. So So anyway, yep. So that's a perennial favorite, but certainly one of my favorites for this year. And then the last one, which is worth a mention for anybody who hasn't stayed there. So we stayed at just very recently at a place that's now called Luxury Collection Manhattan, and we stayed there earlier this year also when it was the Conrad Midtown. It changed. It changed from Hilton to a Marriott, so now it's just called Luxury Collection Manhattan. And I know you're probably, if you know Marriott, you're like Luxury Collection. That's like not a hotel name. That's like one of their many brands, right? But they don't have a name for it. It's just called Luxury Collection Manhattan.
Wow.
And this place is worth a mention. And I've talked about it probably once or twice before, but I think it's worth a special mention now with Marriott because I know there's a lot of people that have Marriott points and free night certificates. This place, most of the rooms are suites. And so one of the standard rooms is a one bedroom suite. There is a standard room that's not a suite also, but I don't know how many of those they have. If you know, when I went to check in the last time in the Hilton app, just looking at the map, like the floor map of each floor, I don't think there are very many rooms that are not suites.
Hmm,
So the vast majority of this
that's great.
place is one bedroom suites. Yeah, it is. It is great because they are super spacious. They're real for Manhattan. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
We stayed at the Grayson, which is a Hyatt that a lot of people like, one night, and then we stayed at the Luxury Collection. And when we walked in the room at the Luxury Collection, my 6-year-old said, "Wow, this hotel is a lot nicer than the place we stayed last night."
Wow.
And I didn't disagree with him. And that's no knock on Grayson. Grayson's nice. It's fine. It's exposed concrete ceilings and stuff. So whether or not that's your thing probably varies by person. But the Luxury Collection Hotel, just the rooms are super nice. You walk in and there's a bench by the door. So you're putting on shoes, taking off shoes, whatever. There's a place to sit. I appreciate that. That's such a small touch, but it's a nice bench too. It's really well padded.
Yeah.
So that's great. Convenient. So there's a little like entryway there. And then you walk into a living room that has a pull-out sofa and a really nice coffee table, TV, a table with chairs so you can sit and have a nice view. We had a view of Central Park this last time, and you only see like a little sliver of Central Park, but it depends which direction your room is facing, whether you'll see that or something else. But many of the rooms have a decent view of something anyway. And then there's a bedroom, and the bedroom has its own TV. And then there's a little closet area that's like almost like a walk-in closet on the way to the bathroom. And again, bathroom is spacious also, and just everything feels very high end. The furniture, when you stay at a nice high end type of a place, you can tell the difference in furniture and things like that, fixtures, when it's a place that they've done well. This is one of those places. And so the cash rate doesn't always make it a great deal with points. When we stayed, it was like $700 to $800 a night for the regular rooms there, the one bedroom suites, and so it was like 89,000 Marriott points, so a little bit less than 1 cent per point. But man, if you have 85K free night certificates, I think there's just it would be hard to make an argument for a different property in Manhattan because you get a standard room at one of the
Mhm.
other places that might seem nicer. Now, I know you've stayed at the St. Regis, New York, and that does seem really, really nice. But if I were
Yes.
comparing the two with my family, I would stay at Luxury Collection because I know I'm going to get a one bedroom suite for the price of a regular room.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome.
So,
That sounds great.
yeah,
All right. Is that it for you?
that's it for me for stays. Yep, for
All
hotels.
right. Time for you to pick your number one hotel award.
Oh man. I have to pick the Grand Hyatt Kauai because we love it so much, but that Luxury Collection Manhattan, which we stayed at as a Conrad also, is probably the place I would prefer to stay in Manhattan. Man, if they were a Hyatt and had free parking, that would totally tip the balance in favor of Luxury Collection. But I think the Grand Hyatt Kauai is hard to beat. So Grand Hyatt Kauai would be my pick for my top because we'll be happy to go back there again anytime.
Yeah. All right. That's totally understandable. And I'm really want to go, but there's so many other places in the world to go as well.
Yeah, lots of places.
Um, anyway, oh man, I'm having such a hard time picking. I had so many great stays. I even forgot to mention the Inn at Bay Harbor, which we stayed at a
Oh,
couple times this year, which is in northern Michigan. Love to use our Marriott points there, right on Lake Michigan. And if you get a lakeside room, it's just beautiful. Um, I think it's so hard, man. I'm gonna go with our sort of happy place in London, our home base, the St. Pancras. It just feels so good. It feels like coming home when we go in there, get our same old suite with the high ceilings and everything. It's one of those you can't replicate that. Like I can't. Other people can't come and do that because you're gonna have a different experience than us. But yeah, but it's by such a small margin because we had so many good stays this year.
Very good. Yeah, well, aren't we fortunate to have so many to pick from? All right, last but not least, we got the other category. In the other category, I had to put in something else here because when we talked about favorite awards, obviously I was using miles or points, but there was just another little couple of things I had to add in here because they weren't exactly awards, but they were
Right.
free. So casino matching shenanigans has continued to go really well, and I had to pick out and highlight two things quickly. First of all, the free MSC cruise that we took from Venice. That cruise went to Kotor, Montenegro, Dubrovnik, Corfu, Zakynthos, and Bari, and I loved all of those stops. Dubrovnik gets really crowded, and I've been there before when there's not a cruise ship in town. It's totally different when there's not a cruise ship there. It's just so crowded with a cruise that was
Yeah, I
probably my
bet.
least favorite of the stops on the cruise. Not my least favorite place overall. If you go there when there's
Right.
not a cruise ship, much better.
Understood. Hmm.
But Kotor, Corfu, Zakynthos, and Bari, all terrific stops on this cruise. They were great places, and I would totally go back to Kotor. And in fact, I have a cruise that's going to stop at Kotor next year, and I'm glad for that. But I would go back and stay. It was
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's a place I never would have. I didn't even know it existed, to be honest with you.
Right. Right.
I knew Montenegro was there, but I'd never heard of Kotor before. Totally would go back. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful place. So that was a free cruise from the MSC or from the status matching where I matched Caesar's Diamond to Hard Rock Icon to Ocean Prime. These days, it's a lot different. Now, if you get Ocean Prime status, you have to earn 250 tier credits. So you have to gamble a bunch in order to get the travel benefits. And the MSC cruise is only free if you depart the United States. If you depart internationally like this, now they charge an extra $1,400 for that. I would still probably consider paying it for a cruise like this, not for the cruise ship, but for the stops. The stops were great. So anyway, you do have to pay a $400 deposit, but you get that back as an onboard credit. And it's really easy to just go to a slot machine, put your room key in, and charge $400 to the slot machine and spin it a couple
Sure.
times and cash it out. So easy to get that back. So it was very free, I would say, the MSC cruise there. And then the other one from the status matching was a free stay at Resorts World, Las Vegas. We really like Resorts World. It's kind of dead at that end of the strip, so it's not the exciting part of the Las Vegas strip. And so a lot of people won't like it for that. But I love it because it's clean, it's nice, it's bright. I don't know if it's non-smoking, but I don't recall any cigarette smoke in the casino. Maybe because it's so spacious. And I mentioned that it's bright, which is in stark contrast to many of the more high-end, stylish Vegas casinos, which are very dark these days. I like the fact that it's really bright. We like the rooms a lot, so we stayed at Conrad Las Vegas with the free stay from. Again, this is from Ocean Prime status in Atlantic City. So really liked that. They've since changed to now a partnership with Wynn, where you'd stay for free at Wynn instead. And Wynn is like 8 times nicer than Resorts World. We stayed there also this year. We actually stayed on the Encore side using Fine Hotels and Resorts credits in order to get another free cruise for next year, because there was a status match with Wynn that was only briefly available. But anyway, so I stayed at Encore, and man, I would be really happy to stay at Wynn. So that MSC benefit is still really good. And the reason that that is worth a mention in particular, I said MSC benefit, I meant the Ocean Prime benefit. If you're able to do the status matching in Atlantic City, which your time is limited on that because Caesar's Diamond status is going to be much harder to get after January 31st. But if you're able to do the matching, and you're okay with losing some money gambling, and you can gamble enough to earn your 250 tier credits. One of the nice things about the free stay with that is that it doesn't seem to be very restricted. Like we went during Martin Luther King weekend. There was no problem booking a weekend when cash rates were like $800 a night or something. I
Wow.
mean,
Hmm.
ridiculous like that. And that was fine. You could do that. So that's really nice. It could be a really valuable benefit. Weekends in Las Vegas can be really expensive, and Wynn for sure gets really expensive comparatively. So that's a really nice benefit along with the free cruise that comes with the Ocean Prime status. So I had to mention those because those were two great things that I got that were very, very free because of this all of this casino status matching shenanigans.
Absolutely. And I've got one in the other category, which is I have Bilt Platinum status. And
Mm.
Bilt Rewards, if you get Platinum status, one of the benefits is you can ride a Blade helicopter for free in New York or Nice, I guess, to from or to the airport, and so I flew from Manhattan to JFK on the Blade helicopter. It's such a cool way to get to the airport. I mean, it's like a fun little ride in itself. You have the beautiful views of the city, and you're there like literally in the door at JFK in like 10 minutes from when you
That's
take
amazing.
off. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. So I love that. So since I only had one in the other category, my favorite of that category is obvious. You didn't pick your favorite yet, though.
Oh,
Of,
true.
of your
The MSC, I got to pick the MSC cruise. That the cruising, I am not a huge fan of cruising, believe it or not, still, even though we've done, I think, 8 now in the last couple of years. We got 2 more for next year. Cruising itself it's not my favorite way to travel. I love being able to get to a bunch of different places without having to pack up all the stuff and move it.
Sure.
And Europe is a fantastic place for that because you can get to a whole bunch of really beautiful places, nice places, good food, good culture, good stuff to see without having to pack up your stuff and move your stuff from place to place. So I really have enjoyed the European cruises, particularly the Caribbean cruises have been less my thing, even though I like nice Caribbean beaches. I would just assume fly to a nice Caribbean beach and stay there for a week.
Yeah.
Whereas the cruises around Europe have just been a personal favorite out of the stuff that we've done. So that would be my pick out of the other category. And in the future, I'll continue to look for, if I'm going to look for cruise opportunities, I still enjoy the ones in Europe. I think the
Sure.
most.
No, that totally makes sense. So instead of going to like a place that's dedicated to cruise lines, there's like these artificial little beaches or
Right.
towns
Right.
that they make. You actually go into real cities that are interesting in themselves, and so that totally I
Yeah, I
totally
think
get
that's why
that.
what I like about the European ones. And I've got a Caribbean one and a European one lined up for next year. So we'll go and we'll do that and we'll go to the little fake island and the kids will enjoy the water park and then a lot of the places, like Greg said, it just kind of feels a little artificial the way they're built up, but that's totally different in Europe because, those places are there. Dubrovnik is there all the time. It has been for a long time.
Right.
It wasn't just built up for cruise ships. So
It was
so
built. It was
anyway.
built for Game of Thrones, I think.
Right. Well, that's right. Exactly. So anyway, that's that. So we picked our best of the best, right? I
Yeah,
think that
I,
wraps us
I
up.
think that wraps up today's main event.
Okay. Question of the week. I had a few questions and I had a really hard time picking one, but because of the time, because we've gone really long here, I'm going to try to pick the one that I think will be easiest for you to answer out of the ones that I had earmarked. So here we go. PJ writes in, says, Hi, Frequent Miler. I'm writing to ask which of these 3 airlines you would prioritize to fly and earn miles with. I recently accepted a new job, which will require at minimum 2 round trip flights to Chicago monthly. I have the option to fly American, United, or Southwest for these. Which of these would you prioritize for status and miles earning purposes? Thanks for all you do, PJ. So, if you had to go to Chicago twice a month, I don't know where from, so we don't know how far these flights are going to be necessarily, but if those were your 3 options, which one would you prioritize for status and or miles earning?
Yeah, I think chances are good that that's not enough flying on its own to get you to meaningful status with any airline. The way I would handle it is probably just I would acknowledge that it's not going to make much difference and probably just fly whatever flights were the most convenient for what I wanted to do. But if they're all sort of equally convenient and you're interested in earning elite status, I think American has the best options for earning elite status, not just by flying, but for other things. You can earn it from a myriad of ways, including spend on the credit card, spend through portals, just it goes on and on and on, how you could get loyalty points to earn American Airlines status. So I think that combination of flying American um, and getting status through other means, then you can enjoy those American Airlines flights more because you'll have status. Makes sense to me if I had to pick just one.
And I knew this would be an easy answer because that's the clear answer for this question. And I love the fact that Greg was ribbing me about flying American Airlines,
Yeah,
and I knew he was
I
going to have
was.
to pick American to answer
Yeah,
this question
isn't
properly.
that crazy? Yeah, if I should back up because if you want to get there, you need to fly United or Southwest. But if you're
Remember,
into
American
elite
doesn't come with that
status,
perk. That's
if you're in elite status, American's the way to go.
No, that's totally it. Because you can supplement with everything else, and absolutely, you're not going to earn enough miles because Chicago's in the middle of the country. I can't imagine that 2 flights a month, even if you're flying from like as far as possible within the continental U.S. to Chicago and back, twice a month, it's not going to be enough miles to earn any
Right.
kind of meaningful status, but you can easily earn meaningful elite status with American. So then that would give you those extra perks. So yeah, that's Greg, spot on. So there's your answer. American, if you're going to do everything else to earn status, and if not, just pick whichever one's cheapest or most convenient for you, because it probably doesn't really matter. All
There you
right.
go.
That's the end of this week's episode. If you enjoyed this week's episode and you'd like to get more of this stuff in your email inbox each day or each week, you want to go to frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Again, that's frequentmiler.com/subscribe. Join our email list. Follow us on all the various social media. Wherever you're watching or listening, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, like this, leave a comment. We always appreciate that stuff. And if you have a question that you'd like to be considered for a future question of the week or a piece of feedback for a giant mailbag, you can send that too.
Send it to mailbag@frequentmiler.com. Bye, everybody.